Welcome to the Wisdom for Life podcast with David Baker. David was a former paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division and for over 30 years has been a preacher. He has written 5 books and is an Amazon #1 best-selling author. He is the chaplain at the county jail, pastors a church, and is the father of 11 children. Yes, 11. This podcast is here to give you wisdom for your family, your marriage, your children, your finances, your health, and your life. And now, the host of Wisdom of Life podcast, David Baker.
Hello and welcome. David Baker. Welcome to the Wisdom for Life podcast. It is Wednesday, and Wednesday we have the regular one, the one we started with. We got a few more things to do. So, hey, if you have never given us a review, I'd appreciate it if you would. 5-star and say some good things. That always helps. And share it. Tell some people about it. We'd love to be able to pass this around. I believe there's some good things in here that can help, especially the series that I'm doing on Wednesday. And on Monday, the series to help families and children. And then, anyway, feel free to pass it on. So if you have a question, ask Pastor Baker at gmail.com. You can find us YouTube, Wisdom for Life Podcast, wisdomforlife.com, wisdomforlifepodcast.com, and on Rumble for that. All right, we're going to learn you something. So have you ever heard of liver mush? Liver mush. All right, be honest. How many of you have had liver mush? Combining liver and mush do not sound particularly appealing, okay? But there's some people in the new North Carolina liver mush region that do, so much so that they have a special liver mush festival, okay? It's coming up June 4th, 2022 from 5 to 9 in downtown Marion, North Carolina. They'll have kids activities, a hog calling, a pig squealing contest, and a food truck rodeo. Okay. What is liver mush? Oh, it's just a mixture of pork liver, cornmeal, and spices. Okay. Pork liver, cornmeal, and spices. So the pork liver, they said, didn't taste very good. And so they mixed other pieces of the pig like hog's head, the jowl, okay, to provide flavor and texture. Are you hungry? Okay. I haven't eaten lunch yet. We're getting ready to. And boy, that just sounds wonderful. So they also have what's called liver pudding. It's the same ingredient as liver mush, except for the cornmeal is smoother texture. Liver pudding. Okay. So anyway, you can go check it out and enjoy. So, all right, here's a joke. I am getting this way, and my dad enjoys these older men jokes. So we'll use that. It's called If My Body Were a Car. If my body were a car, this is the time I would be thinking about trading it in for a newer model. I've got bumps and dents and scratches in my finish, and my paint job is getting a little dull. But that's not the worst of all. My headlights are out of focus, and especially hard to see things up close. My traction is not as graceful as it once was. I slip and slide and skid and bump into things even in the best of weather. My white walls are stained with varicose veins. It takes me hours to reach my maximum speed. My fuel rate burns inefficiently. But here's the worst. Almost every time I sneeze or cough or sputter, either my radiator leaks or my exhaust backfires. But best of all, I'm still running. Okay. So anyway, I thought that was sort of a cute little story. Things I love, old friends. I like old friends. I like meeting new friends, but old friends, boy, they're just special. This last week, we went to the 50th anniversary of the college that we went to, and just to see old friends, some I haven't talked to in a decade or two, and to talk and catch up and connect and see how they are. But I truly, truly enjoyed it. It's a great, great blessing and enjoyment for that, to have old friends. Then things that I hate. Here we go. People who don't know what they're talking about, but then tell you that you don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? I'll illustrate that in a little bit, okay? Favorite quote, remember, not everything you read on the internet is true. Abraham Lincoln. It's funny, on Facebook, a friend put, hey, put your favorite quote on here. So I was getting ready to type that in and scrolling down, and guess what? Somebody else already put it. So I guess other people like it also. But a new one, is Anne Frank. Whoever is happy will make others happy too. Isn't that precious? Here's a young lady, Jewish girl living in occupied Germany and ended up being killed. But if you're happy, you'll make other people happy. And if you're a grouch, you'll work hard to make other people a grouch too. All right. So trivia last week. Who recognized Jesus as Messiah when he was presented at the temple as a baby? Okay. Who? You got it? Simeon, who was just and devout. Simeon was just and devout. And then, all right, question for this week is this. Who asked Pilate for Jesus' body after the crucifixion? Pretty simple one there. Who asked Pilate for Jesus' body after the crucifixion? All right. If you know, you can say it out loud or you can send it in if you want. All right. So today we're finishing, we're going forward in the book that's titled, if you're on video, How Christians Can Save America, a Nation in Dire Distress. How Christians Can Save America. It's a short read. It's only about 60 pages, and it's that way on purpose because I want people to actually read it. And they're very short, but very, very helpful and important for us. So this lesson is called, What About Separation of Church and State? What about separation of church and state? Many times when Christians have gotten involved in politics, someone will emphatically say, but there's separation of church and state. You shouldn't even be in politics. I have had this happen so many times when I would comment on a post and something political. I don't know how many times people have pushed back and to tell me that I shouldn't be responding because I'm a pastor and there's separation of church and state. Like, are you an idiot? I'm sorry. That's unkind. Are you stupid? Is that too unkind? Ignorant means just uneducated. You are ignorant. You are uneducated. It does not mean separation of church and state that Christians can't be involved in politics. This week I posted something about Joe Kennedy, who was a football coach in Washington State. And after every game, he would go out to the middle and have a silent prayer. And people started joining him. No one was forced to. Some said he prayed out loud sometimes. Okay, I'm okay with that. One kid, they said, he felt pressured, like if he didn't go, he wouldn't get playing time. Just because you felt that way doesn't mean the whole world has to change for your feelings, okay? There's law. There's law, and the law is not... the law does not say that Christians can't be involved in politics. And the law doesn't say that you can't pray, no matter where you are or what you're doing. So what is that? I tell people honestly, I did not give up my First Amendment right of freedom of speech just because I'm a pastor. I've served the Lord in the military. I was a veteran, willing to die for my country, for the rights that we have, willing to do that. And so just because I am a pastor or a Christian does not mean that I don't have the right to speak what I think. Every person has that right, no matter what position they are in. So when I posted something about it, I said, oh man, somebody running for office who doesn't even know the Constitution. So I said, enlighten me. Teach me, please, of the Constitution, what it says about separation of church and state. Okay? By the way, if you can find separation of church and state in the Constitution, I would love to see it because those words are not there. Where do they come from? Very simply, and I could make this longer. I'm not trying to make a long one, but there's a lot more in here to do. So I want to give you the basic. I may talk more about this one next week, but the First Amendment says, by the way, it's the first part of the First Amendment. Tell me religious liberty isn't important. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Let's stop there. So Congress can't make a law establishing a religion. See, so you got to get rid of all Christianity. That's not what that means. Christianity has been proven in the Supreme Court multiple times that America was founded as a Christian nation. Well, no, you can't. That's separation of church and state. That is not what that means. Please understand original intent of the Constitution. Okay? The Constitution is not written for you to interpret it however you want to interpret it. It's not given by private interpretation like the Bible. It's not given for private interpretation. We interpret it the way God meant the Bible to be. We interpret the Constitution the way the Founding Fathers meant it to be. So, let me give you a little history. The countries in Europe from which we came, all of them, almost all of them, if not all of them, had a state church. The Church of England in England, the Lutheran Church in Germany, the Presbyterian Church in Switzerland, the Catholic Church in Italy, and many others, okay? And so what happened was the state and the church were married. They were joined. They were together, and the preachers from the state church were paid from the state. You tell me, who do you listen to? when it comes down to a coworker says something or your boss says something? Huh? If the owner says something or the new guy that just got hired says something, who do you listen to? Man, I'm listening to the guy that gives me my paycheck. I don't care what that other guy thinks. The guy that gives me my paycheck, that's the one that's important. Exactly. And when the state and the church are married and the state pays the preachers, and guess what? They control them. They control them or they fire them, take their license away. And that happened. The persecution that countries and that people faced in other countries were gigantic. That's why they moved to America for, religious freedom. And so now we are getting a federal government, and people wanted to make sure that they did not do the same thing as the other countries did. And so this Bill of Rights, these first 10 amendments were here to make sure, give the people the trust that we're not going to have to fight with this. So Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. We cannot make Methodism or Baptist or Episcopal or Lutheranism or Catholicism the state church. We can't establish a religion for the federal government like all the other countries did. And why would they be concerned about? From the countries that they came from and also from the states. Most of the states, when they were colonies, had a state religion. I didn't know that. Yes, they had a state religion, okay? A state religion. So the state religion for a lot of them were the Anglican or the Church of England. So the Anglican and the Church of England are the same church, and in America later on, after the Revolution War, it got changed to Episcopal because calling it the Church of England when the Patriots, that was not a really good thing. So the Episcopal Anglican Church of England, their state churches were Virginia, New York, Maryland, North Carolina, and South Carolina. They had a state church. The Congregational Church had a state church that was in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. In fact, Maryland started as a colony for Catholics to go to where they wouldn't be persecuted. So in England, you have Bloody Mary persecuting the Protestants. In America, you have some of the Protestants persecuting the Catholics. So they set up a colony called Maryland where you could worship Mary if you wanted to, and you wouldn't be persecuted for it. Later on, when they voted Anglican. But that's the name where Maryland came from, okay? And so, by the way, the state churches lasted long after the country got started. Maryland had their state church until 1867. North Carolina had theirs until 1875, almost 100 years after the nation's founding. And listen carefully. Technically, a state, unless it's barred by their state constitution, could form a state church if they wanted to. I don't think they should. I'm not pushing for that. But it says Congress, the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law. By the way, has Congress ever tried to make a law to make a state religion? No, they haven't. So the second part of the First Amendment says, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. All right, what does that mean? Congress cannot prohibit the free exercising of a religion. So if I want to pray after a football game, Congress can't make a law saying I can't. Okay? Congress can't make a law saying I can't. How come? Because that would prohibit my free exercise of my religion. If I'm going to have a Bible when I go to school, if my son wants to take a Bible when he goes to school and read it when he has an opportunity, can he do that? Sure. How come? Because Congress can't make a law hindering your free exercise of your religion. And so many other things. Okay? Well, what about separation of church and state? Listen carefully where it came from, and we'll do more next time. Separation of church and state was in a letter written by Thomas Jefferson when he was president to the Danbury Baptist Association in Danbury, Connecticut. Basically, the gist of it was this. The Danbury Baptists were concerned that the federal government would try to take their religious rights. They were afraid the federal government would say our religious rights are not inalienable, meaning that they could be separated from us, okay? And so an alien is foreign to us. Inalienable means it's a part of us. You can't take it away from us. Our rights are inalienable. The religious right of the freedom of religion is inalienable. You cannot separate it from me. The federal government has no basis to separate me from my religion. It's inalienable. It's not a part. It's not a distant part of me. And so it is a part of me. It's not separated from me. Okay. And so they wrote a letter to Thomas Jefferson. He answered them and he put in it the First Amendment and said, believing, let me just read this quote, believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between a man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, and that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only and not opinions. I contemplate with sovereign reverence the act of the whole American people, which declared that their legislature should, quote, make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. That's where the phrase came from. It's not in the Constitution, not in the preamble. It's not in the Bill of Rights. It's not in any of that. It is simply in a letter written from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists affirming that the state would not try to take their freedom and their religious liberties away from them. You ready? What does that mean? In the world, they say, mic drop. Okay? For you to say or believe or even talk about that a Christian should not have a part in government, should not be able to vote, should not be able to run for office, should not be able to even talk about religious things as a part of government is wrong. That is not establishing a religion. Okay? America is a Christian nation. Establishing a religion is taking one of the denominations and making it the state church, the federal church, and persecuting all other ones. That is not what is being done with any of this. And if we don't push back, listen carefully, if we don't push back, we will lose more and more of our religious freedom. We have freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. You don't have the right to never see a cross and to never hear Jesus and to never hear a prayer. You don't have that right. It's not freedom from religion. They're not going to promise you in this country that you will never see or hear any religious thing. You can't. You can't promise that from anybody. I drive by, I'll see a mosque. I'll drive by, I'll see a temple. I'll drive by and see a different church. They can't promise me freedom from religion, and that's not what's guaranteed. It's freedom of religion. And if you want to have no religion, or the religion of atheism, which is a religion, definitely takes faith to believe that all this happened by chance, you are free to do that. You're free to do that. So, all right, we'll talk more about that, but separation of church and state, it's big, it's important, and we need to understand it, and we need to make sure we live by it and push it. If not, we will lose it. We will lose it. Hey, be kind to everyone because everyone's having a tough time, and get wisdom. It is the principal thing. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to the Wisdom for Life podcast. If you have any questions for us, email us at askpastorbaker@gmail.com, and we will answer them in an upcoming podcast. The email is askpastorbaker@gmail.com.